कुञ्जविहारी Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Jaya Jagannatha, Baladeva, Bhagavatam, Jaya Sukhadeva. Om Vishnupad Paramam Parivrajakacarya Stotra Shri Srimad Aisi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON founder Acharya PPT founder Acharya His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की समवेद भक्त वृंद की समवेद भक्त वृंद की समवेद भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग की ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. So welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam discussion this morning. We are continuing our discussion on the prayers of Srila Sukhadeva Goswami, who is the principal speaker of the Bhagavatam. So not yet begun the prayers offered by Srila Sukhadeva Goswami, but we have been seeing the biography of Srila Sukhadeva Goswami. And yesterday we discussed how this absolute truth is defined as Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. Brahman as a concept is not elaborated in the Bhagavatam, which is there in the Upanishads, but through the life of Sukadeva Goswami, how he was a Brahman realized soul and he got attracted to the pastimes of the Lord. That is depicted in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we went into first the prayers of Suta Goswami, who offers his prayers to his spiritual master Sukadeva Goswami before answering the six answers to the sages, the six questions to the sages of Naimisharanya. Yesterday we saw this Yam Pravarjantam and Anupaita Paita Krityam Dvapayano Virahakatara Juha Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Vinedus Tam Sarva Bhuta Hridayam Muniman Natosmi. And these two verses are very famous. Yasvanubhavam akilishruti saramekam adhyatma deepam matitirshitam tamondam samsarinam karunaya purana guhyam tam vyasunumupayami gurum muninam. Then we saw that after they heard the answers, Shaunak Rishi was in ecstasy that you're going to speak this Bhagavatam. Now they knew that this discourse had happened between Parikshit and Sukhdev. So they asked about Sukhdev. Tasya putra Mahayogi, Samadrik Nirvikalpa, Ekantamatir Unnidro, Gudo Muda Ivetaha. And what is his Samadrik? That when Even the naked ladies saw him, although he had full grown body. But because he had Vivikta Drishti, he had pure eyes, they could see the innocence in his eyes, that he could not discriminate. Stri Pomba Beda Na Tusutasya. Na Tusutasya. So uh, this is the qualification of a speaker, that he should be self-realized soul. You know, the beginning of self-realization begins with distinction between matter and spirit, and the highest level of self-realization where you cannot distinguish between matter and spirit. So that is Sukhdev Goswami. So Sut Goswami is, uh, sorry, Shaunak Rishi is glorifying like that Sukhdev Goswami. And then how he was not being, how was he recognized? Because he was unmatta, mukha jadavat. He was like a madman, mute, a fool. How did he was recognized? And how did that meeting between Parikshit and Sukhdev happen? How did it happen? So that was his question. And he used to stay in the house of the householders only for Sago Doha Matram he. You know? And just for that moment he used to stay, he used to purify their ashram. And there also Prabhupada gives a lot of instruction for the sannyasas. And then after Vyas saw in his mystic vision, in his divine vision, which is called as Divya Pratyaksha, Krishna, Maya, and how the living entities are trapped in Maya, and he saw the solution, that is Srimad Bhagavatam, and he Chakre Satvatam Samitam. He compiled this Satvata Samitam, the Srimad Bhagavatam. But basically, the 18 Puranas, among the 18 Puranas, Bhagavatam is categorized as a Sattvic Puran. That same Sattvic Puran he edited and made it into a Amal Puran. And he taught to his son, Vyas, Suta, Shukadev. And then the sages asked him that, he studied this. Sukham Adhyapayan Asa Nivritta Nitramuni. Vyas revised it and taught it to his son Sukhdev, who was a realized Brahman. So again, he was a Brahman realized soul. It clearly comes out here. So this is where we ended our discussion, right? Yesterday. Now, Shaunak is asking, Sarve Nivritta Nitara Sarvatropeksho Muni Kasya va Brahatim Etam Atmarama Samabhasat. Shaunak asks, Sukhdev was fixed in Brahman. Sarvatra Upeksho Muni. And he was Nivritta Nitara. He had completely understood, there is the Pravritti Marg and the Nivritti Marg. The Pravritti Marg is a path of Karma Kanda, enjoyment, following the Vedas. But the Nivritti Marg is a path of detachment from sense enjoyment. So he is completely Nitara Nivritta. And he was, indifferent. Sarvatra Upeksho Muni. Everything. And he was Atmaram, enjoying in the self. So he's already absorbed in the bliss of the self. He's completely detached from sense enjoyment. So he's attained the highest perfection in one sense. Then why did Kasya Va Brahati Metam? Why did he study this elaborate work? The Bhagavatam is an elaborate work in one sense. So why did he study? Now Sut recites this verse. Let us recite. Atma Ramascha Munayo Nirgrantha Ap Urukrame Kurvantya Hetu Kim Bhaktim Itam Bhuta Guno Harihi. So Suta said, some sages who are Atmarams, Atmaramascha Munayo. There are some sages who are Atmarams. That means not all Atmarams ultimately come to the highest, that is pure devotional service. They might be absorbed in the bliss of the self and ultimately attain Brahma Jyoti because they have attraction for that. So not all Atmarams, some who are nirgranta, appya urukrame, beyond the scriptures, false ego and rules, also practice unmotivated pure bhakti. Kurvantya ahitukim bhaktim. To the master of pure bhakti. That is Krishna. That is how Krishna has been addressed as Urukrami. So, to perform pure devotional service is a real Urukrama task. Pure devotional service. And why? Ittam bhuta guno hari. Since he possesses qualities attracted to even them. The Brahman has no qualities. There's a material qualities, there's a negation of the material, which is the first level of realization of the absolute, where there is the negation of the negative. But there is no what? Affirmation of the positive, where the positive qualities, positive, pastimes. So the Brahman is like the, zero axis. But because it is the emanation of the absolute truth, which is the rays of the bodily effulgence of the absolute truth, it is so attractive. So the Atmarams are attracted to that, and they are not attracted to the pastimes of the Lord. If they don't offend the Lord and consider the pastimes as material, then they are qualified to attain the Brahman. And they also practice a limb of bhakti within their Gyan sadhana. And it is not their Gyan sadhana which gives them the result of liberation. It is the bhakti element which is there in their Gyan sadhana, which is acting as a secondary, element. That bhakti gives the fruit of liberation for them. So, if they are fortunate, then they understand that there is positive form, positive qualities, and then positive pastimes, and they become attracted. So that such are the qualities in Hari. Ittam bhuta guno Hari. Now, this verse is very interesting. Harir guna kshiptamatir Gavan badarayani Adyagan mahadakhyanam Nityam Vishnu Janapriya. So, in the previous verse, it was mentioned Ittam Guta Guna Hari. So, Harir Guna Apshipta Mati. In the previous verses, when Shaunak was glorifying Sukhadeva Goswami, he said that, Nirvil Kalpa Muni, that his mind was fixed in Brahman. His mind was completely absorbed in Brahman. And he was completely absorbed in the bliss of Brahman. And such a personality who had no material impressions. We become akshiptamati, we become distracted because of material impressions, which affect our samskaras. But Sukadeva Goswami had no samskars. Neither at birth, any samskars were performed because directly he was a Parivrajaka. So he got what? Distracted or disturbed by what? Spiritual impetus. And what is that? Harer guna. Akshipta matir. So his bliss of Brahman, which he was absorbed in, he became distracted by that. He became distracted by that. Who? The son of Vyas, Bhagavan Bhadra, and becoming distracted Adyagan Mahadakyanam. He studied this great Bhagavatam and he became what? Nityam Vishnu Jana Priya. He became attracted to the Vaishnavas. Generally, the Brahmavadis are not attracted to Vaishnavas. So Sukadeva Goswami also never associated with Vaishnavas. That's a pastime. So he became dear to Vaishnavas and Vaishnavas also became dear to him. So what was that which, broke his meditation, the Brahman bliss? What was that? What was those qualities? So it is described that after Vyas re-edited the Bhagavatam and made it to Amur Puran, so he thought that it is only Sukhadeva who's really qualified to understand this rasa of Bhagavatam. Not that because he was his son. He had the adhikar to actually relish this Bhagavatam. That was, the realization of Vyas. So already we know that Sukadeva had gone in the forest just when he was born. So how to get him back to relish this Bhagavatam, to make him study this Bhagavatam? So Vyas tricked a device. So he sent his disciples in the forest and recite some particular verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And in the Tattva Sandarbha, it comes up that there were few verses. Some acharyas say 3 verses, some say 2. But anyway, I have 2 verses here. So these are these 2 verses. Bharha pidam natvarah vapu karnayo karnikaram bibhratva sakanakapeksham vaijayantim chamalam randran veno adarasudaya parayan gopa vrinde vrindaranyam swapadaраmanam pravishad gita kirti. So when they recited this verse explaining the beauty of Krishna, Bharha Pidam Natvara Vapu. He is having a peacock feather on his head and he is Natvara Vapu. Krishna is very chanchal. He just cannot, when he, coming back from the forest, he's dancing and playing his flute along with his Gopa friends. Karnayo Karnikaram, and he's having very beautiful, garlands and earlets, Bibrat Vasa, and his, dhoti is what? Yellow in color. Kanaka Kapeksham, and he's having a Vaijayantim Chumala. And Randran Venur, Sudha Paya Purayan, and he's filling nectar in his flute. And with his Gropa Vrinder, Vrindaranyam, he's entering Vrindavan, back from his Gocharan Leela. Swapada Ramanam, and he's not wearing any paduka, with his own feet. Pravishat Gita Kirti, and all his Gopas are singing his glories. So this meditation of the beauty of Krishna, when Sukha was in the forest, absorbed in the bliss of Brahman, when he heard this verse broke his meditation. Harer guna shiptim mati. And suddenly he came out of his meditation. So no material stimulus could break his meditation. This was a spiritual stimulus which broke his meditation. And he thought, who's this beautiful personality? And he got attracted and he just started following the sound from where these disciples were reciting the verses. And he just started following them like a mad person. Then suddenly he stopped and he thought, somebody who's very beautiful now, he's very proud. So he just stopped for a moment and the disciple recited this verse. Aho bhakiyam stanakalakutam jigyasapayapya sadhavi lebhe gatim datrimuchitam datanyam kamba dayalum sharanam brajema. This is recited by Uddhava. in the third canto. So when he heard Aho Bhakyam Stanakalu Putam, Bhaki is Bakasura's sister, that is Putana. She had filled what? Kalakutam in the breast. And she had come to kill Krishna. Jigyasapayam up asadvi. She was a asadvi. But see the mercy of Krishna, see the compassion of Krishna. Although she had come to kill Krishna, but for a moment, seeing Krishna, she felt Vatsalya Bhav. And Krishna only took that. Lebe gatim dhatrim uchitam. Krishna thought, she is fit for being the mother. And she gave that, gatim, Krishna. Tato anya. And then Uddhava was saying, Kamba dayalum sharanam. Who is there whom is more merciful than Krishna, where we can take shelter? So when Sukhadeva heard this, then he understood the all merciful, compassionate nature of Krishna. And there are a few other verses they say. So when he heard this, he got attracted to the qualities of Krishna and he came back home to study the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, the appearance of Sukhadeva Goswami. Sukhadeva Goswami enters into the scene only in the 19th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam when Parikshit retires and he's cursed to die in 7 days. And he retires on the bank of the Ganga or the Yamuna. And all the sages in this universe are assembled and he asks them, what is my duty now that I'm cursed to die in 7 days? So that time, the sages are not in consensus and they are all looking in some direction, and that direction, who comes? Sukhdeva appears. So the hero's appearance in the scene is given. Usually in the films, that, the first scene where the hero appears, that is very dramatic. So here is the dramatic appearance of the real hero of the Bhagavatam speaker, that is Sukadeva Goswami. Tatra bhavat bhagavan vyasaputro yadrichaya gam atamano anapeksha alakshalingo nijalabatushto vrittascha baler avadhuta vesha. So the great son Vyas Sukdev, wandering the earth as he pleased, gam atmano anapeksha, ignoring everyone without indications of any ashram, satisfied with his own attainment. Nijalabatushta, wearing discarded clothes, Alakshalingo, and surrounded by children, arrived at that time. So this is the appearance of how Sukadeva Goswami appeared. And then these are the famous questions Parikshit Maharaj put forth again to Sukadeva Goswami. Atha pricham samsiddhim yoginam paramam guru purushasyeha yat karyam briyamanasya sarvatam. I ask you, the supreme guru of the yogis, yoginam paramam gurum. What is the complete perfection and what is to be done at all times for attaining that perfection for a man about to die? So this is also the same question the sages had asked. What is the highest benefit for all humanity? Ekanta Shraya. So this is exactly the same question Parikshit Maharaj is asking. And then this is the next question. Yad shottavam ato japyam yad kartavyam prabhu smartavyam bhajaniyam va bruhi yad va viparyayam. O Master, please tell me what men must hear, chant, remember and worship, or what they should not hear, chant, remember and worship. So in essence, Parikshit Maharaj asked two questions. What is the duty of a man at all times? And especially somebody is going to die, because that is his condition. And what one should hear, chant, and remember. So these are two questions put forth by Parikshit Maharaj, which are called as the seminal questions of the Bhagavatam. Now, in the second canto, first chapter, first verse, That's the first time Sukhadeva Goswami speaks. Now, interestingly, if you see Prabhupada's second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is the first verse. But before that, there is another verse which Prabhupada mentions, and it's not numbered also. And that is what? Anyone remembers? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now, my question to you all is, traditionally, even in the Gita Press, original Bhagavatam, or other commentaries of the Acharyas, you find directly this verse of Sukhadeva Goswami speaking, but Srila Prabhupada inserts this beginning invocation verse, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. What is the reason? Anyone knows? Let us try to hear. I was puzzled, why is this verse? And for so many years I was thinking about it. Anyone knows? Yes.
Speaker is paying obeisance to Supreme Lord. There was some expense.
Speaker is paying? Yes. But Sukhadeva Goswami is not offering obeisances to Supreme Lord. Prabhupada is giving the verse there. Beginning shloka of Bhagavatam. So why? But why in the second canto? Already it is there. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya and 111. Why Prabhupada has once again inserted Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya? This is very interesting. Sukhadeva Goswami, hearing the questions, he went into ecstasy and he forgot to offer the Mangalacharan and just began to answer Parikshit Maharaj. Whereas Prabhupada doesn't forget to offer the Mangalacharan. But Sukhadeva Goswami goes into ecstasy and he forgets to offer the Mangalacharan. It's only later on he'll offer his Mangalacharans, which are in one sense, the prayers of Sukhadeva Goswami in the second canto, fourth chapter. And to understand this mood of Sukhadeva Goswami is very difficult because Sukhadeva Goswami is a Mahabhagavat and he's just, inspired by, Leela Spurti. He just goes by the flow of, what manifests, the pastimes manifests in his art and he narrates. That's why when you study, especially the 10th canto, the events described are not chronological. It's only Sanatan Goswami in his commentary to the 10th canto explains all these events chronologically and explains, why Sukhadeva Goswami, is in the Bhagavatam not explaining the chronology and to understand the ecstasy of Sukhadeva Goswami. So right hearing the verses, questions, Sukhadeva Goswami goes into ecstasy and he forgets to offer the Mangalacharan. And in one sense, these prayers of Sukhadeva Goswami are like the Mangalacharan, which we will be soon discussing now. He says, Varyan eshate prashna, kruto lokahitam ripa, atmavit sammata pumsan, shrotavyadishu iha para. O King, Ripa, your questions are most excellent. Varyan eshate prashna. Your question, which is the highest among all questions. Shrotavyadishu iha para. Is beneficial for all, for the people. Krito lokahitam ripa, and approved by the assembly of sages. Atmavit sammata pumsan. So he just goes into ecstasy hearing the question and, just starts replying without offering the Mangalacharan. And then he starts answering what is to be not heard, chanted, and remembered. So if you see these verses 2, 3, 4, Sukhadeva Goswami is hammering the materialist, which is criticizing the materialist. But this is what is called as constructive criticism. It's called as what? Constructive criticism. He can criticize because he has love. His heart is not filled with any malice. Only he is qualified to do that constructive criticism. So right in the beginning, the speaker of the Bhagavatam starts hammering. And this is what is called as constructive criticism. And that's why it is very difficult to understand Prabhupada, because Prabhupada began his preaching with this kind of a constructive criticism. Once, the Juhu temple construction was going on, and it was advised that better to hire a professional company to do this construction. So big managing director came to meet Prabhupada. And Prabhupada asked him, what do you do? So being a businessman, he told his entire schedule. What about spirituality? He said, I don't have any time for spirituality. Prabhupada said, you are an animal. you know? And this person who heard these words from Prabhupada, he spoke in one of the offerings for Prabhupada, and I heard that. And he said, when Prabhupada spoke this, he spoke out of pure compassion, and it really touched his heart and not his ego. But if we speak like that, what happened? It'll hurt his ego. But Prabhupada had that compassion, and it touched his heart, and he transformed and he became a devotee. So that is Sukhadeva Goswami. He begins his pravachan by what? Constructive criticism. So these are the verses which will not go. And then he answers what is to be heard, chanted, and remembered. Tasmad Bharat Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari Shrotavyah Kirtidavyascha Smartavyaschaitita Bhayam. And then, after replying this, Sukhadeva Goswami, in order to inspire Parikshit, because Parikshit had only 7 days. So Sukhadeva Goswami gives his personal example that how he got inspired by the Bhagavatam. And he gives the example of Katvang Muni, or the king, who just perfected in life in a moment, Muhurata, and attained perfection. But my dear Parikshit, you have 7 days. Don't worry. I am there for you. So that is the assurance Sukhdev speaks. And this is those words. Prayena munoyo rajan nivritta vidhi sedatah nairgunyastharamante sma gunanu katane hari. O King Rajan, general the sages, Munaya, who are beyond rules and prohibitions, Vidhi Sedata, who are situated beyond the gunas, Nairgunyastha, take pleasure in glorifying the qualities of the Lord. So that is why we can understand why when we sit for Krishna Katha, we get, a divine energy of the Lord works in the form of Nidra Devi for us. Because we're not Nairgunya. We are not Nairgunya, but Prayena. And he gives the example of himself. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Adhitavan Dvaparado Pitru Daivayanadaham. This scripture concerning the Supreme Lord is a Purana equal to the Lord himself. Brahma Samhitam. I learned the scripture from my father Vyas. Pitru, at the beginning of the last part of Dwapara Yuga. Parinishhtitopi Nairgunya Uttama Shloka Leelaya Grihita Cheta Rajarshe Akhyanam Yad Aditavan. O saintly king, I was certainly situated perfectly in transcendence. Parinishhtitopi Nairgunya. He was situated in Brahman. Yet I was still attracted by the delineation of the pastimes of the Lord. Uttama Shloka Leelaya Grihita Cheta Rajarishe, who is described by enlightened verses. Uttama Shloka. So, how I myself, being absorbed in the bliss of Brahman, became attracted to the qualities of the Lord and studied the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I'm going to now recite it to you. So that's what Sukhdev Goswami speaks also about himself. Now, Sukhdev Goswami tested Parikshit Maharaj 3 times while reciting the Bhagavatam. Even the Siddha devotees test others. Even Krishna tests his pure devotees. He tested the gopis when he played his flute, and all the gopis came running, and he tested them. Please go back. He started speaking about Stri Dharma there to test their, determination. So similarly, Sukhdev Goswami tested Parikshit Maharaj 3 times in the Bhagavatam. Anyone knows which are the 3 places in the Bhagavatam he tested? Anyone knows about it? Yes. Ajamil pastime. The second time, Brahma. Agasura was killed, not. Pardon? Okay, not exactly at that instance. You're a little close, but one more is there, yes. Yeah, so that is the second test, which is the third test. The third test is at the end when he completed the whole discussion. He tested his bhakti, how much he's steady in his bhakti by speaking Brahma Gyan. Thus, Sukhdev tests Parikshit. In the 6th canto, he tests his knowledge of Siddhanta when he speaks of regular attainments, when Parikshit asks for the method of getting free of sin. So there he was tested in Siddhanta. In the 9th canto, Sukhdev tests Parikshit's eagerness for Krishna's pastimes by summarizing those pastimes. He just summarizes. He wants to see how much eager. And in the 12th canto, he tests his steadiness in bhakti by talking of Brahma Gyan. The real meaning is not always in the directly observed events. So yesterday also we brought out this point. The events remain the same, but the Puranas describe the same event differently and different conclusions come. So the directly observed events do not exactly depict what actually is happening. But Bhagavatam gives the inner heart of these events and the deeper lessons for realization of the absolute truth. Now, in the end, 12th canto, at the end, just in the beginning, as Sutta Goswami glorifies his spiritual master, in the end also, he glorifies with these 2 verses. Swasukha nibritta chetas tad vyudasyanya bhavo apajita ruchiralila krishta sarastadiyam vetanuta kripaya yastattva deepam puranam tam akhila vrijinagnam vyasa sunum natosmi. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, Vyasa Sunum Natosmi, the son of Vyasdev, Sukhadeva Goswami, who destroys all sin, Vijrina Agham, and who, though fixed in his own bliss with no distractions, Swasukha Nibrit Chetas, became attracted to the pastimes of Krishna and mercifully spread the Bhagavatam, which describes Krishna. Tad vyudasya anya bhavo ap ajit ruchir leela krishna sarastadiyam, and reveals the rasa of his pastimes. Leela krishna rasastadiyam. Out of his compassion, he spoke this Tattva Deepam Puranam. So this is again the glory of Sukhadeva Goswami. And this is the last verse in the 13th chapter of the 12th canto, where again Sutta Goswami glorifies Sukhadeva Goswami. Yogendraya namastasmai Sukhaya Brahma Rupine Samsara Sarpadashtam Yo Vishnuratam Amumuchat. I offer my humble obeisances to Sukhdev Goswami, Namai Tasmai, the best of the yogis, Yogindraya, and the very form of Parabrahman. Sukhaya Brahma Rupini, he is the very form of Brahman, who saved Parikshit Maharaj. Amumachat. Vishnu Ratam, bitten by the snake of material existence. Samsara Sarpadashtam. It was not the Takshaka Sarpa which bit actually Parikshit. Everyone is bitten here by the snake of samsara. So this is a very beautiful verse glorifying Sukhdev Goswami. So having understood the glory of the speaker, now we'll go to the prayers of Sukhdev Goswami, which come in the 4th chapter of the 2nd canto, where the process of creation is there. Proper titles is the process of creation, whereas Vishwanath Chakra Thakur titles this chapter as Sukhdev glorifies the Lord. So his Mangalacharan, his glorification of the absolute truth. Now, in the 4th chapter, after he had asked these 2 questions and Sukhdev Goswami replies the answers in 3 chapters, hearing the replies, Sud Goswami now narrates that Parikshit Maharaj fixed his mind on Krishna. He detached himself from everything material. And then Parikshit Maharaj asked questions about creation. Specifically, he asked 3 questions about creation. Although Sukhdev narrated that one should hear the pastimes of the Lord, but Parikshit thought it wise to ask the pastimes of the Shrishti Leela of the Lord. So he put forth 3 questions. And then, before answering these 3 questions, Sukhdev Goswami went into meditation and prayers and offered these prayers, which are the prayers of Sukhdev Goswami. So what are those 3 questions? Let us see first. भूय एव विवित्स्यामि भगवान् आत्ममायया यतेदं सृजते विश्वं धुर्विभावम् अधीश्वरे. Again, bhuya eva, I desire to know, vivityami. Again means what it means here. Parikshit had been hearing, the Puranas and the creation pastimes. It's not that he was not aware about the science, but he wanted to now hear from the highest authority, Sukhdev Goswami. I desire to know how the Lord, Yatha Bhagwan, by his energy, Atma Maya, creates this universe, Idam Vishwam Srijate, which is hard to meditate on by even the Devtas. Durbhavam Adishware. So the creation pastime to know is even hard for the Devtas, including the secondary creator, Brahma. So that's why I want to know, although it is so difficult, this subject, I want to know. That was Parikshit's question. We all know that Srila Prabhupada wanted the cosmological model to be depicted in his Mayapur temple. And in the TVP, there is the cosmology team which wants to depict this. And even His Holiness Dhanvir Maharaj was here in Bangalore a few years back. And he had his cosmology team, and they were doing the research for that. So Chaitanya Chandra was telling once that even in this team, if we have Brahma as our advisor, still it will be difficult to actually depict the whole cosmos. Durvibhavam. And Bhanu Maharaj, once Dairam Prabhu was discussing with Bhanu Maharaj, Maharaj, you know astrology, you have studied the cosmology and commented on all the previous acharyas. So I feel you are qualified to come in that team too. Bhanu Maharaj was very humble. He said, this, structure of the universe, the whole cosmos, if it is revealed in some divine vision, then, you can understand it. Better to depict, already, which is there, the Angkor Wat, which is built according to the, structure of the universe has been built, that temple has been built according to the, description in the, Puranas and the Bhagavatam. That was his humble recommendation. So that is what he wants to know, how this creation happens. And then he says, Yata gopayati vibhur, yata sammichate puna, Yam yam shaktim upashritya pura shakti parapuman atmanam kridayan kridan karoti vikaroti cha. I desire to know how the Lord maintains yata gopayati vibhu and destroys the universe again. Yata sammichyate puna. By which Shaktis, Yam Yam Shakti Upashritya, does this possessor of many Shaktis, the Supreme Person, Puru Shakti Para Puman, sport with Maya, Atmanam Kridan. So the creation is the play of the Lord. And when he is playing, he engages others also in play. Kridan, what is that? Kridayan, Kridan. That's what. But the others who are playing, they get caught in the play of the Maya Shakti of the Lord. But the Lord who is playing, he is completely aloof because he is Purusha Para and creates the elements, Karoti, and then employing the Devtas, Kridayan, create the bodies of the living entities. Atmanam Vikaroti Cha. So basically, very poetically, Parikshit's asking Sarga and Visarga. The Lord does Kridan in the form of Sarga. He himself does. And Kridayan is done by Brahma and all the Devtas and the Prajapatis. So how does the primary and the secondary creation happen? Sarga and Visarga. This is the second question. And then last he asks, Yata gunams tu prakrter yugapat kramashopiva vibhrati bhurishastva eka korvan karmani janmabhi. Just as the Lord Yata, while performing activities of creation and destruction, Kurvan Karmani, sports the gunas of Prakriti, Bibharti Prakriter Gunan, all at once as one Purusha, Eka. He also supports the gunas through many forms of Devtas. Bhurisha Api. Does he do this gradually in sequence? Yugapat Kramoshava. So here the question is that the Lord as Karandaksha Vishnu single-handedly supports the gunas, which is the three guna avatars in the primary creation. Then through the Devatas, he also supports the gunas through secondary creation. How does this happen? Whether it is in simultaneously or is it happening in sequence? So when these three questions were asked about the universe, creation, pastimes of the Lord, it is at that time Parikshit Maharaj, Sukhadeva Goswami, offers his prayers to the Lord. Now here I want to mention something about prayers, which is called as Vandanam. There is something called as personal prayers. Sometimes we can personally go and offer our heartfelt prayers to the Lord, that, my dear Lord, I'm suffering in this material world. Please give me shelter. So these are some personal prayers which also we can offer. But there are prayers in the Shastras. And these prayers in the Shastras are spoken by devotees who had darshan of the Lord and had realizations of the Lord. And these can be classified into four categories. One is they praise the Lord. And after praising, they thank the Lord. Or they request. So these glorifications of the Lord will be followed by thanksgiving, request by the devotees, or prayers asking for forgiveness. So Brahma, after the Brahma Vimal Lila, also offers prayers, beautiful verses. And then he asks for forgiveness. Arjuna, in the first canto, 7th chapter, seeing the Brahmastra, within few verses he offers prayers first. And then he asks, that please tell me what is this glaring effulgence. So the prayers in the Shastra are impregnated with transcendental realizations. And they have deep philosophical conclusions, the Siddhanta. So we should also recite these prayers. And in the Bhagavatam, it is filled with prayers, right from the first canto, first chapter onwards. So by reciting these prayers, we will be equipped with that transcendental realization and develop that same mood what these great devotees had offered their prayers to the Lord when they had the darshan of the Lord. So we can get a glimpse of that. So that is why prayers are very important. And a devotee means his life is a life dedicated to always praying. So the prayers are very, very important. So we will begin the prayers tomorrow, but just the first verse. This is not what Sukhadeva Goswami is offering the prayers, but Suta narrates. After he had been put forth these questions, what happens? So let us recite this verse. Suta uvacha ityupamantrinno ragya nanu katane hare ऋषिकेशं मनुस्मृत्य प्रतिवक्तुं प्रचक्रमे. Suta said, being thus requested by the king, iti upa mantrino ragya, to speak about the qualities of the Lord. Guna anukatane hare, Sukhdev, remembering the Lord of the senses. Rishikesham anusmritya, prepared to answer. Prativaktum prachakrame. So this is a very important principle, that when questions are put forth to us, and everywhere in the Bhagavatam this principle is established. When the sages of Naimisharanya asked questions to Suta, Sut offered his Mangalacharan, remembering his spiritual master, and thereby connecting to the parampara. So that when you get connected to the parampara, Tesham satati yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami udyogam. So we get that transcendental intelligence to exactly reply from the spiritual senses of the tongue, which is not under the control of the material energy, inspired by the spiritual energy of the Lord, so that that can transform the heart and touch that other person. So similarly, Sukhdev Goswami anusmritya, whom he remembers? Rishikesh. So specifically here it is, the Lord is addressed as Rishikesh, who can inspire the senses. You be present on my sense of this tongue and inspire to speak words. Inspire to speak words so that I can befittingly answer the questions of Parikshit Maharaj. And this is the same Rishikesh term used in the Bhagavad Gita in 120. First chapter of the 20th verse of the Bhagavad Gita. No, that is 15th. But no, before that. Ata vyavastitam yuddhe dhatarashtram kapidvaj. Rishikesham, Rishikesham tada vakyam vacha. So Rishikesham tada. So Rishikesh, there, what did Krishna do? Actually, Krishna put Arjuna in illusion there. So that is how Rishikesh acted. But here the prayer is Rishikesh should act so that he can put us in touch, the instruments, in direct contact with him, so that I can speak your words. You speak and I just become a instrument. So that is the mood of, Sukhdev Goswami here. And when Ramanand Rai was answering to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what did Ramanand Rai say? I am just a string and you are the player. As you play, my tongue will vibrate. And that was the mood of Prabhupada. Nachao, nachao, nachao sei mate. Kastera putli, nachao sei mate. So that is the mood of the acharyas, that, let me become just an instrument of you, my Lord, and you inspire. So that is the mood which is set in here by Sukhdev Goswami. So now, from the next verse onwards, he will offer these beautiful prayers. And from tomorrow onwards, we will see those prayers. There are only just 12 prayers, and we'll quickly go through these 12 prayers. We'll spend good quality of time also. And we will go through this 12 prayers. These are one of the most beautiful prayers in the Srimad Bhagavatam. I just spoke in the last 2 days the glory of Sukhdev Goswami, because this is the only place in the Bhagavatam where his prayers to the Supreme Lord are there. So devotees should, regularly practice reciting these prayers and memorize these prayers. So these are one of the favorite prayers you should have, and especially also Sudha Goswami glorifying Sukhdev Goswami. Yam Pravarjantam and Yasva Anubhavam. These are very, very beautiful prayers which we should recite. So tomorrow we'll begin with the actual prayers of Sukhdev Goswami. Thank you very much. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions, any clarifications anyone has? Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you very, very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.